Mattia was just 23 years old, but on his shoulders he carried an inheritance greater than his age, his father's workshop. After a long illness, old Gino had left him the keys, tools, and, above all, the respect of a loyal clientele. Everyone expected him to close, to look for a lighter job, perhaps in an office, with a tie around his neck and coffee from the machine. But Mattia didn't. He had decided to stay. The choice wasn't easy. His friends, the ones he grew up with, were now talking about meetings, company aperitifs, and last-minute vacations. They arrived at the bars all polished up with iron shirts and perfume on. He, on the other hand, arrived tired, his hands still black with grease despite the washing, with a dirty t-shirt under his blue overalls and worn-out shoes. The others laughed, but he didn't care. He knew what he had in his hands, the work he loved and the memory of his father. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. Every morning he opened the shutter at 7. The smell of engine oil welcomed him like a caress, and the sound of the tools he fixed was almost like familiar music. There were days when he worked non-stop, bent over engines, bent under cars, facing cold, heat, rain, and dust. No complaints, no desire to give up. For him, every bolt fixed was a way to still hear his father's voice telling him, "Good job, keep going like this." He had no time for women, nor did he look for them. He had had some relationships that had ended badly, and they had all had the same fate, leaving him with the excuse that he was not ambitious enough and did not want to live a social life. He had understood early that certain girls wanted men with clean hands, not with nails ruined by fatigue. So he had stopped looking, not out of resignation, but for protection. He had told himself that perhaps his destiny was to work alone, maybe one day with an apprentice at his side, but without anyone waiting for him at home. Then, one Friday afternoon, as he was closing the hood of a newly repaired car, he heard a noise outside the door. A car had stopped suddenly. He walked out of the shed, wiping the sweat from his forehead with his forearm. A girl got out of the car. She looked agitated and had a confused expression. "Excuse me. My car made a strange noise and then it turned off. Could you take a look?" Mattia nodded without saying much. He had learned that those with a problem want solutions, not speeches. He pushed the car to the bridge and immediately got to work. She watched him, curious. She noticed his strong, marked hands, but precise in their movements. She noticed how he moved around the engine naturally, as if he were taking care of something alive. He didn't seem like the type to boast or seek attention, and yet something about him struck her. Maybe it was the silence, or maybe the respect with which he treated his work. There were no catchphrases, only authentic gestures. "You must be tired," she ventured after 10 minutes of silence. "You're never tired if you do what you like," Mattia replied, without taking his eyes off the oil filter. She smiled, surprised. No one had ever said anything like that to her. There, in that little workshop that smelled of iron and burnt rubber, she felt more listened to than at many elegant dinners. The breakdown was trivial, a loose belt. In half an hour he fixed everything. She stayed until the end without haste. "Thanks for helping me. How much do I owe you?" she asked. "Nothing. It's nothing, really." "But at least let me offer you a coffee," she said, seeking courage. He looked up for the first time with a hint of hesitation. Then he nodded. They sat on the step in front of the garage entrance, with 2 coffees quickly taken from the small bar across the way. Her name was Maria. She worked as a sales assistant in an elegant clothing store, and every day she had to wear perfect clothes, high heels, and impeccable smiles. She lived a life made of shiny windows, superficial glances, and phrases of circumstance. She had learned to camouflage tiredness with a bold lipstick, to smile even when she just wanted to remain silent. She spoke to Mattia without filters. She talked about how tiring it was to always be in range, how she often felt out of place in her own life, and how inexplicably free she felt, there, sitting next to him, with dusty jeans and the wind messing up her hair, with someone who wasn't trying to impress her or to be impressed. Mattia, as always, spoke little but listened. And Maria wasn't used to being truly listened to. When they said goodbye, she took courage and left him her number. "If you ever wanted a real coffee, one without plastic and without rushing," she said, pointing to the glass in her hands. In the days that followed, Mattia thought about it for a long time. Then, one evening, he wrote to her. A simple, dry sentence like him. "I finished early today. If it's still worth it, I'll gladly take that coffee." That's how they started seeing each other. No fireworks, no movie script. Just two people who approached each other with respect, step by step. Mattia began to clean his hands better before each meeting, not out of shame, but because he wanted to present himself to her in his best light. Maria, on the other hand, began to enjoy the simplest things, walking without uncomfortable shoes, laughing without having to check her lipstick, finally feeling at ease in a world that didn't judge. The first time she returned to the shop just to see him, Mattia was fixing the engine of an old scooter. As soon as he saw her, he took off his gloves, amazed. "Everything okay?" "Yes," she said, smiling shyly. "I needed to see you today." Mattia was silent for a moment. Then he made room for her on a dusty bench. They sat there without needing to say anything else, and they understood. A year later, the shop sign had been restored. Under his father's old name, there were now two new letters, small but significant, M and M. Customers thought of Mattia e Motori, but for him it meant Mattia e Maria. Every morning before raising the shutter, he looked at those initials with gratitude. And on one of those days, while they were drinking their usual coffee together before the first customers arrived, Mattia looked at her and said, "I know it's not a boutique and we don't sell designer clothes, but I need someone I trust to help me with the accounts, the invoices, the organization. Would you like to work with me?" Maria looked at him surprised and then moved. "I would be happy to do it." From that day on, they not only shared coffees and silences, but also projects, days, and a dream built with bare hands. She no longer needed to hide behind an iron dress, and he finally had someone next to him who saw his value behind dirty hands. Because when love arrives, it doesn't look at the dress, but at the soul that wears it. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.